Hey everybody, it's Chris from Killer Arcade Games. Today I'm going to talk about Mortal Kombat 4 and the different ways you can play Mortal Kombat 4 at home. This game isn't loved by everybody, but this is one that I truly love, and I love it so much that I have an arcade 1-up themed as MK4 with an arcade PCB inside. So it's got the real guts of an MK4 inside of an arcade 1-up, which is great because truthfully that's the best way to possibly play it, outside of having the full-size cabinet, of course. But I know a lot of my audience have arcade 1-ups that they've modded and they want to have MK4 on their Mortal Kombat cabinet. Well, there's a couple different ways to do it. None of them are perfect, but some are better than others, and I'm going to go over those different options in this video. First, let's start by looking at the actual arcade game. This is, once again, running on an arcade 1-up monitor, but it is the arcade PCB inside. So I'm going to pick a character I'm pretty familiar with. Let's look at this screen for comparison to the other versions. The towers blink as you go through them. Let's see. The character picture blinks too as it hits on there. There's a few things that are definitely going to be different in the arcade. Well, the arcade was designed to run this game ideally because this is where the game was, developed on. So you got a lot more blood. Typically uppercuts have quite a bit of blood in them. The get over here spear has a decent amount of blood too. Let's try to see it at a distance. Look at that. That's a good amount of blood. One of the most noticeable lacking points on console versions or different versions of the game are a huge lack in blood, unfortunately. So I'm going to keep playing. We're going to do Scorpion's Fire Fatality just to kind of show some other different things with this game. This is just one of my favorite Mortal Kombat games. This is my favorite Mortal Kombat game gameplay-wise. It's so fun and so fast. Here we go. This fatality actually performs differently on the arcade. You might be able to tell the flames move a little slower, or we're going to call this the benchmark, actually. So the flames move at the speed they move on here, but let's see how they do on different versions, emulations of the game. So what I'm going to do next is actually switch to the MAME version of Mortal Kombat 4, and we'll compare it to the arcade. Alright, so here we are at my Mortal Kombat 2 arcade 1-up cabinet that has been modified with a PC. The PC is running a Core i5 processor, it's decently high-end, and you need a little bit of power to emulate MK4. So if you want to know what PC I'm using, check the link in the description, there'll be a link to it there. I can tell you I recommend that PC highly. It's in all of my cabinets except for the MK4. It emulates Blitz pretty well, it emulates Carnival, Killer Instinct, all those other ones I've got. But we're focusing on MK4 right now. Let's go ahead and launch MK4. I wanted to show you the boot up. So here's the problem. The boot up is going to say there are known problems with this machine, basically telling you the game is not perfectly running. It is having graphic issues which are actually noticeable, so let's take a look at those. Also, in order to keep everything kind of fair, I can't capture footage directly off my arcade PCB. I used to be able to, but I had to change some of the hardware inside and I can't do it anymore. And I can capture off this one, but I'm going to do it all by recording the screen. So you kind of get a fair view of all of them, which is, I admit, not up to snuff. It's not going to look perfect, but anyway, at least you get a consistent view of all the games. So here we are. This actually looks, if I could argue, this looks a little better emulated as far as this screen goes. The colors are better. It almost looks like it's higher resolution, but either way, I still prefer the arcade. The arcade's always, for me, it's always been the benchmark. Okay, so you'll notice one thing right here. The towers do not blink. It's just a graphical glitch. Not a huge deal. But there are some large graphic problems right here, unfortunately. So I'm on the left. Scorpion is my opponent on the right. He has holes in his body. It's hard to see. Now when I'm on this side, I have holes in my body. So whoever's on the right side of the screen actually has holes in their character model. I don't know why that is. There's other problems too that we'll look at. I'm actually going to make it a 2-player game so I can control it a little bit better. Let's see. So we'll get to see a little bit better of what's happening here. Alright, this is a perfect level to show you this because you can see with the color behind her. She has a lot of holes in there. Actually, maybe it's not the best. Let me try to zoom in on this really quickly. So you can kind of see she's actually got holes inside of her body. You can see right through her, but if I jump over here, she looks fine now, and I have holes through my character. It's just how it is. It's very odd. So I have to assume it's obviously an emulation glitch. There's also another problem with this, which is very unfortunate because this is the ideal way to play it at home. MAME is the second best in all cases. Here's a big problem though. If you notice what I did right there, let me hit her real quick. you can run right through the second player, or the second player can run right through the first player. Whoever's on that side of the screen runs right through the person every time. But it does not happen this direction. This direction the game works normally, and it's not a problem. It is kind of an issue when that happens, because if you're trying to do a combo, sometimes if you're running up to them to do the combo, you can run right through the character and end up on the other side mid-combo. Let me demonstrate a little gameplay just to show you how it works. The game seems to work pretty well otherwise, so if that little thing doesn't bother you that much, it's not terrible. I mean, it's a decent one. So one of the other things that's changed here is the fire fatality. This is just an issue with emulation in general. I find it on Killer Instinct. It's a little more minor, but old hardware tends to chug through the graphics a little bit harder than new hardware. So let's see this fatality. You'll notice it runs a tad faster. No slowdown when all that flame is on the screen. Normally that will cause major slowdown on the arcade board, but not here. Not a big deal. If this was the biggest problem this game had, that would be great. We could play this thing and it would be awesome, but unfortunately MAME is just not perfect. I've had a few problems too where I'm playing on the MAME version, which I rarely do since I have the arcade board, but I have messed around with it. The game has crashed a few times, unfortunately. It'll literally reboot itself as if the game is crashing. It's not like MAME crashes. It's not like it goes back to the MAME menu. The game crashes literally like something's not running properly. And here's another problem. Other minor graphical issues. The back of this stage through this area here is supposed to be more of like a purplish color or a lighter blue, if I'm not mistaken. It's just like it didn't put it in the game. It's like it's missing a texture back there. So until they get this game working perfectly emulated, which who knows when that's going to happen, you're going to have problems. You're going to have issues where you're running through characters. And so all that said, I don't know that I can say put this on your cabinet and you'll be happy. If you don't care about a few minor glitches and you're pretty much always going to play from the first player side and you just want to play this game in the arcade form, try it. It's definitely worth a try. It may crash on you. You may have other problems. Your PC may not be able to run it, but it's definitely an option. It's not necessarily the best in my opinion because of all the other small issues. So with all that said, we're now going to look at the Dreamcast version, which is MK Gold, which is technically a different game. It's really just an expanded MK4, and it's actually a decent option, but there's still a shortcoming or two, so let's take a look at that now. So I use the emulator Redream to run Mortal Kombat Gold. I'll just go ahead and say right away to get the problem out of the way. Other than just having less blood, which is typical on console games, it just couldn't do all the stuff it needed to do. It also had some audio problems. This may just be exclusive to me. I was getting large popping noises that were really loud and obnoxious that was in the audio, and I don't really know what caused it. All right, so here we are on the main menu. Here's where the problem I have with console games on arcade cabinets. This is it. You have to go in and load your save every time, which drives me insane because I'm presenting this game in an arcade-style cabinet, and I want it to play like an arcade. I want someone who doesn't know how to deal with this cabinet or know anything about MAME to walk up, select a game, and start playing immediately. You can't do that with this. You have to load your save to add all these settings here. Difficulty continues. You have to configure your controls that way. Once you load the save, it's good to go, but as soon as you exit the game, or if you don't save at the end before exiting it, it's probably not going to save your initials or other things you put in. All that said, though, this looks pretty good. It's not taking up the full screen, I'm noticing, which it doesn't normally have that problem. That may be just another issue I'm dealing with, but let's pick Scorpion to keep it consistent again. This screen, oh, now it's taking up the full screen. That's weird. Towers blink. Everything seems to work well. Load times are nearly non-noticeable because you're running it. I'm running it off an SSD in this PC, but the load times are usually really quick, though. One other thing to note here is the character models are definitely smaller. They look really good, though. I mean, I can't complain. Let's see if I can pull off some combos like I can in the arcade, though. Whoa, that was a little weird. Feels like the gameplay is running really fast. Again, that could be emulation issues. That could just be something else. But there was actually a fair amount of blood there, which is good. I know for some of y'all that matters, but see, the Get Over Here didn't have as much blood. The uppercut had a decent amount of blood, though. That's a plus. You're not losing out on too much. Let's go ahead and do his fatality on her just to see how fast it runs or how slow it may run on here, which I believe it runs faster. I can't get a feel for the gameplay, though. The gameplay seems to be moving a little fast, and it's hard to adjust to. There we go. Little stutter for the load time. Okay, very similar to MAME, except there's this extra piece of fire there, which is cool or not, depending on how you look at it. And a slight slowdown there for the loading. Very hardly noticeable at that point, though. It's hard to knock it for that. I've never had it crash, I don't believe. I played it all the way through a few times. Never had it crash. You do get the upgraded full motion video endings on this, which is kind of nice. It's the same ending. Oh, wait. Here's a problem I had frequently on here. I forgot to mention. If you'll notice, the sound is gone. The music is gone. It was there when the match started. This happens every now and then. Let's see what happens when the match is over really quick. I don't know why this is happening. It must be an emulation problem with Redream. Alright, music came back for the end, and it'll probably launch again normally. Let's see if it goes out while I play. Oh, he's coming at me pretty hard here. Okay, a little stutter there in the emulation. I don't know what that was. But the music is still playing. And there it goes. Music's gone again. So it could be something to do with too many sounds being played at once, and maybe it's killing the music to keep everything going. But either way, that's something that bumps me as a big fan. If you don't care, no big deal. It's not a bad option. You get additional characters, upgraded endings, and all that stuff. And there's also a chance this is the version you grew up with. You never played the arcade, and you just love this version more, which is great. Go right ahead and try this one. However, I don't give this one the top spot for best way to play this at home. There's a number of issues, like I've mentioned before, and I think that I like the PC version of Mortal Kombat 4 better, and we're going to get to that one next. I saved the best for last as far as home gameplay goes. Alright, so here's the PC version. This is something that released in like 98 or 97, I can't really remember. I never knew about it back then. This still has the upgraded FMV videos that were in the console versions, which is nice. And speaking of the other console versions, I don't even consider N64 or PlayStation versions worth talking about. The Dreamcast version is the best of all the consoles, and this is what I believe your best option to play it at home. The PC version, there's a number of reasons. We'll get to those right now. For one, the installation is dead simple. You can legally purchase it. In fact, I bought this version just for this video. It was $1.50 on GOG.com. Good old games. So I'm going to leave a link to it in the description. Here we go, we get sent to this menu immediately. Like I said, the installation is easy. It's almost like 2 clicks and you're done. Once you're into the game though, you just have to change your controls here by pressing F2 on your keyboard. You can go in and assign your controls, which is great. You go to joystick. Unfortunately, mine are backwards for some reason. I haven't quite figured that out, but player 1 is player 2. No big deal, I don't plan to play it much, but I just wanted to demonstrate it for you guys. Gameplay stuff, you'll still have to deal with a limited amount of continues like the console versions. You got all your different difficulty settings. In fact, this one has a different difficulty setting beyond the arcade. It has ultimate. Rounds to win, 2, versus screen, blood. Anyway, it's very easy to set up, and the good news is once you've set it up, it saves it, and every time you launch the game, you're all set. You never have to load a save, you never have to change a setting again unless you want to. So for now, let's look at the arcade. I'd argue this looks the most like the actual arcade character select screen. It takes up the full screen. And it looks really nice, actually. It still kind of looks almost better than my Mortal Kombat 4 arcade board. But we got a blinking tower. That works perfectly. There used to be a problem with the PC version long ago that caused the full motion video audio to be a problem. The audio on the FMV cutscenes would stutter and be almost to the point where you couldn't understand it. Here's the biggest downfall in my opinion. You see the huge blood splats when I hit them up close? They're a little exaggerated and they take up almost too much of the screen. It's a little ridiculous. Another issue is there's a lack of blood when you uppercut. There's only like 4 or 5 drops, but the character models are pretty huge. I actually really like how big the character models are. It reminds me of the actual arcade game, which is great. The gameplay feels more like the arcade than the Dreamcast version did. Let's look at this fatality. Very fast once again, but he actually runs at more of a reasonable pace. He's not just darting all over the screen. And I think it looks close to the arcade. It just runs smoother and faster. We have the background working here. However, there are no clouds. I think that was just something they had to remove to make this work on the PC back then. We're going to take a look at one other thing really quick. So I'm fully willing to admit that this game does not quite have the graphical quality that the Dreamcast version does, but gameplay and arcade accuracy, outside of Goro being on here and the full motion video endings and cutscenes being put in, this is very close to the arcade gameplay-wise. It feels good, it looks pretty good, it's not perfect, but this is how I used to play Mortal Kombat 4 at home before I got the arcade board version of my arcade 1-up Mortal Kombat. So, all of them have their drawbacks and shortcomings, but ultimately I vote for the PC version as the best. I would truly love to hear what you guys think in the comments. If you want to buy this game, last I checked, when I was recording this video, it was 75% off and it was $1.50. You really can't beat that. It's a very quick download. You can legally obtain it. No messing with emulators. You install it, you play it. You can even tie it into your launch box or big box setup. The only thing you need to keep in mind though, and by the way, one other great feature, when you do hit pause on the game, you can get a moves list brought up to show you all the moves right there built into the game. But one important thing and one drawback to this is you can definitely just press a button to exit the game like you do with your other MAME games on big box and launch box. But this game, it's really ideal if you go in to the main screen here and press exit game. The reason for that is anything that you did, like initials got put in or any changes you made, will not save unless you exit properly like this. And then you're back to your home screen or your big box or launch box and you're ready to play again. Well, I guess that's going to do it for this video. If you do want to buy this game, I get no affiliate money, by the way. I literally don't get anything. I just wanted to talk about this as an option for you. The link is in the description. When I bought mine, it was 75% off at $1.50. You can't really beat that price. I didn't even hesitate, even though I think I already had this. I think somebody actually sent me this file once before. It's been so long I lost it. It's $1.50. I didn't care. I just bought it. It's only like a 400 megabyte download, and it doesn't take any time to install. Definitely look into it if you're interested in it. Leave me a comment letting me know what you do to play Mortal Kombat 4 at home. Do you prefer one of the other console versions? In my opinion, those other versions aren't nearly as good as this PC version or the Dreamcast version. And if by some chance you're playing this on MAME and it works well for you, tell us what version of MAME you're using and what your PC hardware is. Until next time, guys, please give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing for more content, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.